Hi grade 9s, this is the video for Unit 1, Lesson 6, which is adding and subtracting fractions. So our rule when we're adding and subtracting fractions is the same for both addition and subtraction, and that you probably remember from grade 7 and 8 is to find a common denominator. So we're going to be looking for a number that both of the denominators can divide evenly into. And we're going to change our fractions to have the same denominator. Then we just add or subtract the tops and keep that bottom the same. So in my first example, I want a number that 2 and 3 both divide evenly into. So I know that that number is going to be 6. So I sort of set up my fractions as something over 6 plus something else over 6. And I like to color code things. So here I'm going to say, what did I do to the 2? And it's always going to be a multiply. What did I multiply 2 by to get to 6? So I know that I did times 3 there. So I have to do the same to the top. That makes that 1/2 the same thing as 3 over 6. Then I'm going to look at the 1/3. What did I do to that 3 to get to the 6? And I know that I would have multiplied it by 2. So I have to do the same to that top. So 1 times 2 on the top of that fraction gives me 2. Then I add or subtract the tops, and I know this question has addition, but the next one's subtraction, and I keep the bottom the same. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and keep the same denominator of 6. We're going to see that again in the next example. So here, looking at your denominators, I have a 4 on the bottom of the first one and an 8 on the bottom of the second one. What's the smallest number that 4 and 8 both divide evenly into? 4 and 8 are both going to go into 8. My common denominator there is an 8. And then I'm going to look and say, hey, what did I do to that 4 on the bottom of the 3/4 to make it an 8? And I multiplied it by 2. So I have to do the same to the top. 3 times 2 makes my new numerator a 6. So 3/4 is the same as 6 over 8. Now, the second one didn't change, did it? I didn't change that 8, so I don't have to change the top. It's just a -1. Then, same rule as for addition, but I subtract. So subtract the top. 6 minus 1 is 5. Keep the bottom the same. You may want to try the next two if you think you're getting the hang of it. You can try these ones, pause the video, give these a try, and then unpause it to check your work and see if you've got them. Okay, so for C, I'm going to, again, looking at the denominators, I've got a 10 and a 5. So, what's the common denominator? Both of those numbers can divide into 10. I didn't have to change that one, so I don't have to change the top. It's still going to stay as 3 over 10. Here, I had to multiply the 5 times 2. So I'm just going to write a little times 2 there and do the same to the top. So the top here will be 2 over 10. So 1/5 is the same as 2/10. When you add these together, 3 plus 2, add the tops for 5 and keep the bottom the same. Denominator stays 10. If you're working with fractions and you get something like 5 over 10, you need to write that in lowest terms. I can reduce that because 5 divides evenly into both. 5 over 10 is the same thing as 1/2. Always write your fractions in lowest terms if possible. Our last example here, we have a 7 and a 2. So I'm looking at the 7 and the 2 and saying, what's the lowest common denominator? What number do they both divide evenly into? And that is going to be 14. What did you do to the 7 to make 14? You multiplied it by 2, so we have to do the same to the top. On top, we've got 6 times 2 is 12. And what did we do to the bottom to make 14? We multiplied it by 7. So here, 1 times 7 is 7. Now we add or subtract, depending on the sign, and this one is subtract. 12 minus 7 on top, we get 5, and the bottom stays the same. You don't change the bottoms, it just stays the same. That's why we found the same denominator to start. We also have kind of an application question, a word problem question here. So Camille, Rachel, and Everett ordered a pizza. Camille ate 1/4, Rachel ate 1/3, and Everett ate 1/8. How much of the pizza remains after everyone ate? So let's see how much they ate. We could add up everybody's amount eaten, 1/4 plus 1/3 plus 1/8, to try to figure out how much of the pizza did they eat. So we would need a common denominator, but I want to find a common denominator of all three numbers. I'm going to start by looking for a common denominator of just the 4 and the 3, and I know that that's 12. Now, does 8 go into 12? It doesn't. So I have to think, well, what would the common denominator of 12 and 8 be? And that's going to be 24. So I'm going to make each of these over 24. Now I'm going to go through and say, what am I doing to each one to make it out of 24? Maybe this is a really big pizza, big rectangular pizza with 24 slices. So what did I do to the 4 to get to 24? We know that that's times 6, so top and bottom. So we get 6 over 24. Similarly, the 3, I would have to multiply that by 8 to get 24. And I'll do that on the top as well. And the last one, the 8, has to get multiplied by 3 to make it 24. So that would be 3/24. So the total amount eaten, 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 3 is 17 out of 24. So if they ate 17/24 of the pizza, the leftover would be the other slices. So leftover would be 8/24, or you could think of that as you would have a whole pizza, 24 out of 24 minus 17 out of 24, which is 8 over 24. We can reduce that to 1/3. So there's 1/3 of the pizza left over. This one says a fourth person, Courtney, eats 1/12 of the pizza. How much pizza remains now? So we know we had 1/3 left. Courtney is going to come and eat 1/12. How much would be left now? Again, we're going to need a common denominator. Common denominator of 3 and 12, that's going to be 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times. The 1/12 doesn't need to change. The 3/12, I'm going to multiply 3 by 4 to make 12. So there was 4/12 of the pizza. She ate 1/12. So there would be 3/12 left, or 1/4 if we reduced it. We should write a therefore statement. Therefore, there will be 1/4 of the pizza left. So the homework that goes along with this lesson, there's just 2 questions. The first one is for addition, and the second one is for subtraction. Same process for each. Remember to get your common denominators and show your steps.